Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to SimPlay Motorsport. My name is Dan Davis, and I'll be bringing you all the action once again here for the GT4 action around the Red Bull Ring. Our second time at a night race, and a night race we have for you. The Red Bull Ring, one of the most challenging circuits. Even though it's very simplistic, it is very, very challenging to absolutely nail the lap around here. It's going to be an exciting night's worth of racing, and I'm looking forward to bringing you all the action. A quick rundown of what the format is tonight. Obviously GT4, as we run a sprint and a feature race. We start things off with a reverse grid round, so everyone will be running in a championship order in reverse grid order. Obviously the guys at the bottom of the championship will start to the front and the leading cars to the back. One other rule to take into consideration as well for these guys is that on the timetables you may be able to see they have ballast on their cars. So Kieran O'Reilly carrying full ballast, 40 kilos on board his car, with Tordok carrying that 35 kilos. Then down to 30, which is on that's on Sylph's car, while 25 is on the car of Friedman, 20 kilos on Jamal Clouden, 15 kilos on Hupert, 10 on McGowan, and then 5 on Matthew Duffin. So all those guys carrying the ballast, obviously trying to keep the championship as tight as we possibly can. As Jamal Clouden comes out of the pit lane as well. Let's have a quick run through of what the championship standings looks like, as we are now at round 9 of the season. I believe it is round 9. Yeah, round 9 of the season. It is Kieran O'Reilly leading the way with 106 points ahead of Tordok in second place. He's got he's ahead of his good friend Silt, who's third in the championship, with Friedman in fourth. Fifth goes away with Jamal Clouden, while sixth is Hooper, seventh is McGowan, eighth is Duffin, ninth is Carlos, and Hibbs rounds off the top 10 with Wright in 11th, Ramsell in 12th, while in 13th is Skunky, Leach in 14th, with Fernie in 15th, Stardog 16th, while 17th is Taylor, 18th is Millington. And then we're on to the guys who are mathematically out of the championship. O'Brien is out of the championship in that 19th place position. Old Sim Racer in 20th. 21st is Smith, while in 22nd is Aberdeen. 23rd is Tipping, while Clarble is in 24th. 25th is Vesely, with Goudet in 26th. Unsworth is in 27th. Johnson 28th. And Rook in 29th. 31st is Archer, when 32nd is Cummings. Marshall in 33rd, while Wheel is 35th. Marsden in 36th, while Jackal is 37th. Betterson in 38th. 39th is Zanandov, while in 40th is Starrock. And that is our championship standings for the drivers. Regarding the team's championship, looks like this. MSA leads with 167 points to their name, ahead of the Greasy Bandits in second place. Third place is Old School Racers, Unknown Racing in P4. P5 is SimPlay Racing, ahead of Quantum Motorsport. Cam Racing in that 7th place, with 8th going away of Team Tom. The Piston Pounders in 9th, while Blunt Force Racing in 10th. The Piston Pumpers are in 11th, while Roadrunner Motorsport is in 12th. 13th is Audio Sport, 14th is Star Wolf Racing, Lexi's Industry Racing in 15th, 16th is Old Git Racing, and RBGT team at the back of the championship. That is your team standings, and let's have a look at what the order is out on track. It is Kieran O'Reilly who's setting the pace at the minute, your championship leader, in control of this nice rate, ahead of Hibbs, who's looking very good for a silver driver there, up in the top 3, with Jamal Clouden looking quite competitive as well in his Camaro. Will Freeman currently 4th, with Zinandov in 5th place. And again, another silver driver looking quite competitive is Mercedes-Benz, with Ian McGowan in 6th. Then we got Tordok in that 7th place position, ahead of Duffin, and then Hooper in 9th. Snye is sat in 10th place position, with Ramsell in 11th. Taylor from Clarble, who is the leading bronze driver. Then Carlos, Johnson, Silth, Starrock, Stardog, Millington, Wright, Smith, Tipping, Aberdeen, Fernie, and then Old Sim Racer, and the rest of the guys at the back of the pack. So like I said, how this is going to work, obviously the reverse of the championship standings. So you'll see Kieran O'Reilly to the back of the pack, and he's going to have to try his very best to work his way to the front as quickly as he possibly can, or try and score as many points as he possibly can. But he has been looking absolutely mighty here at the Red Bull Ring once again. Our second night race of the season, and it's going to produce some fantastic racing nonetheless. Hopefully you guys should see on your screen the Red Bull Ring circuit is 2.6 miles long and 4.3 kilometers long. There are 10 turns, 3 to the left, 7 to the right. Pole positions on the left hand side, and the ACC lap record is held of a 126.6, held by the Lexus. And your most successful driver here at SimPlay Motorsport is none other than Gary Leach. So that is a rundown of the circuit that we are racing here tonight. And what an exciting rest of the season we have left off. There is not many rounds left, 9, 10, 11 and 12. And we get to our British end of the championship. Next round after here at the Red Bull Ring, we'll be heading to Great Britain itself. We'll be heading to Autumn Park for the 10th round of the season, and then finishing the season off in America, and then one more time in Great Britain, as we will finish things off at the home of SimPlay Motorsport of Donington Park. But enough said about that. Let us see who is going to be looking good tonight. Let's hear you guys in the chat. Let's hear from all of you, and let's see what driver is looking dominant here tonight. Like I said, Hibbs is looking quite dominant, quite confident in that Mercedes-Benz, looking like he's got some really good race pace underneath that car. Can he take the fight to O'Reilly? Can he take the fight to the rest of the top drivers? Because we'd love to see him get involved in that. Zananov as well is looking very competitive in his Mercedes-Benz. We'll see what he can do. And maybe if we got time, yeah, we got a few minutes. 664, that is McGowan. So we're going to take a run through the Red Bull Ring. Like I said, a brilliant circuit nonetheless. Obviously, these guys have been noted and told about the pit entry. If they do get caught by any other drivers, and already McGowan has proven to show that he is not read that rule. So we'll see who we got here. 3. Yes, the 3. We got Snai. Usually see him on a Pro-Am night. He's decided to do the Pro GT4s tonight. So get a good exit out of the final corner and head down towards turn number 1. Come up towards the braking zone, brake just before the 100-meter border, get as far over to the right, left-hand side to open up the right-hand corner as much as you possibly can. Get a good exit, try not to take too much curb because the car will become unsettled, and then a long run up towards turn number 2. Try and make it the shortest run possible, and as you head up the hill, you want to brake once again just before the 100-meter board, and just get the car slowed down. Again, over to the left as far as you dare. Bit of a dip in the second corner, and still climbing. We're still until we eventually up to the top of the hill, and then we work our way down towards turn number 3. Downhill, heavy braking zone, and turning at the same time. So it's very difficult to get this braking right, but once again, all over to the left-hand side. Get the front turned in, wait for the rear end to bite, and then do so, get a good exit. Famously there, Lewis Hamilton taking Alex Albon and Sergio Perez in the same corner, and then into the fast-flowing turn 4. Again, over the curb as much as you dare. Be as patient as you can through the left-hander. Pick up the throttle for a little burst down towards the next left-hander. Brake, turn down 1 gear, get the front turned in, get it hooked up. Little bit of understeer as you then head into the right-hander of 6. So now we head down to 7, 8. Brake once again, get the front turned in, carry as much speed as you dare. You've got to be careful you don't take too much limits, because track limits will bite you in the bum. Into the final corner, get a good exit out of the corner, and then a run to the line. And there we have a lap from Snai, and does he improve on that? He did not, and he'll stay in that 10th place position. So thank you very much to Snai for that demonstration. That is a lap of the Red Bull Ring. A brilliant circuit nonetheless, and we should see some great racing, good slipstreams, good overtaking opportunities here. You know, we could see some great dives and a good it's wide enough as well for the guys to go as many wide as they possibly can, but obviously to the limits as well. So as we go a few minutes, guys, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be notified so you don't miss any action here at SimPlay Motorsport. And also, while you're at it as well, have a look in our description below where you can go and look at our Facebook, our Twitter, and also all the rest of our social media. Especially have a look at our Discord. If you're not a part of the Discord, you can be a part of Discord, so you can be a part of the action here. And you can get yourself signed up as well. Head over to the Sim Grid so you know exactly what you're dealing with for racing here at SimPlay Motorsport. While you're there as well, have a look at our fantastic sponsors: Design Manchester, producers of vinyl graphics, laser engraved gifts, mugs, printed clothing, and much more, including SimPlay merchandise. Or head over to Audiosport, manufacturers of VW transporters, T4 audio solutions, and styling products. Head over to www.audiosport.co.uk. And obviously, like I said, keep hitting that like button, subscribe to the channel. And Sny there, still trying to find improvement, trying to find a little bit more time in the car. 1.1 off the pace. No improvement for him there. One thing we do need to keep an eye out tonight is track limits, as Clouden has now come into pit lane. Silt is in pit lane. I think there's only a handful of drivers. Fernie is out on track. Lexi saying in the chat, not many laps practicing around here, so she's saying help. Fairly straightforward circuit. You should be able to figure this one out. It's not too complicated. Just do what everyone else does. That tends to work. And PN in the chat saying evening all. As Fernie comes to the end of this session, he starts his final lap. What has been your highlight of this season? There's been some fantastic racing here at SimPlay Motorsport. We've had some brilliant rounds, and as Fernie has finished his run, he's done for the session, and now we just wait for Sny to complete his final run here. But it's been a fantastic season nonetheless. I don't need to worry about track limits. I'll be in the gravel, says Lexi. It takes some distance to get out all the way to the gravel, so hopefully you won't get affected too much. And that is the end of practice. And now we look towards the sprint race. So as a reminder of this sprint race, it is a reverse grid order based on the championship standings. Lexi says, oh my god, I'm not on pole for once. And she's happy about that one. So let's have a quick run-through of the grid order once I get the video up and going in a minute. Actually, we'll get it going now, why not? So, the grid order tonight, we got Zendaya at the front with Wheel alongside with Marshall starting in P3 with Johnson. Then we got Clarball and Tipping starting right behind them. Then you got Aberdeen and Smith running up the row 4 positions with Millington and Taylor in row 10. Stardog and Fernie are in row 6. While row 7 holds Ramsell and Wright. 10 seconds. From there, we have Hibbs and Carlos in 15th and 16th place position, with Duffin and Hupert in 18th place position. Then we got Clouden and Friedman 19th and 20th, with Silf in 21st and Tordock in 22nd. O'Reilly in 23rd, with Old Sim Racer 24th, McGowan in 25th, Sny in 26th, Master in 27th, and Starrock at the back of the pack. And that is our grid order for tonight. So as the guys now pull away and get the formation lap underway, the guys are going to get the temperatures all warmed up, get everything ready and raring to go just before the start of this race. And we are looking forward to this one. Guys, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell to be notified, and obviously get your votes in who you think is going to win this first one. As I will get some names down. Reminder as well, coming up very soon is our 24 hours of the Nordschleife, our tackle against cancer. So we'll see how all these guys will get on with that. Make sure you get yourself signed up for that one as well. And get your teams all raring and ready to go before we go racing there. I'm trying to just pick some random names. Try not to put the curse on anyone too much. So there's a couple of names that I can see that might be a threat for this sprint race, so get your votes in on that. If you do not agree with me, then feel free to write in the chat who you think is going to win this first race. Track temperature at the minute is set at 8 degrees, air temperature 8 degrees as well. Track is currently fast. We got a overcast circuit as well. Lovely, lovely conditions, absolutely freezing. But we look forward to a fun and dramatic race ahead. As now they will all get themselves ready to go. And they will now go in 2x2 formation. Mercedes versus Audi on the front row. Zdanov versus Wheel. Who is going to come out on top for the sprint race? That is the question. Round 9 of the championship, race 17, the first sprint race of the week here for the Red Bull Ring, as we now just wait for the drivers to get into position, and we now wait for the green command here at the Red Bull Ring. Second night race of the season. And we are green and go racing at the Red Bull Ring as we head down towards turn number 1. And we can already see Clarbo already looking interested in going up the inside turn number 1. And there, Fernie has made a mistake. He's gone off. He's gone wide, and everyone else now has to try and avoid the incident. And he'll manage to do so. Tipping did not make the start, so he is returned back to the pits. There's a car in the wall, not sure who that is. And that's caused all sorts of chaos here. Cars having to slow down and wait for cars to get out of the way. I'm trying to see exactly where people are as they all head up towards turn number 2. I know for a fact Duffin was involved in that one. Where is Duffin? There he is at the back of the pack, and already absolute carnage has commenced as Zdanov leads the way ahead of Wheel. And then Gary Clarble just behind him as Marshall Lexi has dropped down the order, and already we see Hooper has made a fabulous start already. Got himself up towards the leading cars and is going around the outside of Lexi, and job done from him. And Clarble already onto the back of Will. Will Friedman's up there as well, so Friedman's had a great start to this race as well. He's up into 9th place position. He's just ahead of Wright, and who's that gone off? I think that's possibly Lexi. Yes, it is. She's gone off big time and just waits to get to the back of the pack. Who is that? That is Carlos going slow, I think. Yes, it is. Going slow and looking like he's trying to enter the pit lane. No, or is it Tordok that was slow? I think it was possibly Tordok, but everyone trying to work their way through to the penultimate corner and then into the start-finish straight. There you go. But it's Zdanov leading the way ahead of Clarble, ahead of Johnson, and ahead of Hooper, who's got fastest lap of the race so far. And there we see Carlos, Wheel, Friedman, Wright, and up the inside also comes Taylor. He's looking to make the opportunity. And they're looking like they're about to go 4 wide, but it looks like Wheel with the straight line advantage of the Audi, just pulling away from everything else. But just behind them is McGowan. Oh no, Snye, sorry. Snye is just in the middle of that, and Taylor drops down the order a little bit, and Snye has to take a void and actually go all the way around the outside and manage to avoid them. But Clouden on a big opportunity here, working his way through the order. As you can see, O'Reilly's trying to work his way through the pack also. But we're on board with Hooper. who's now on to the back of Johnson. No opportunity there, as that McLaren's very strong in a straight line. But we've still got this whole gaggle of cars just behind. And Matthew Duffin already, he said he was in the pits, he's not. We've got also Snide, a lot of these guys dropping right back, so I'm not sure what happened to all of them. Lexi ended up dropping to the back of the order, but we got this whole gaggle of cars for this mid-pack. And O'Reilly and Toro not being able to make the progress that Clouden and the others have made, especially Friedman. He is a man on a mission. As Hooper also just trying to find an opportunity to get past the McLaren of Johnson, but Zdanov still leads the way ahead of Klarbo in second, with Johnson still trying to hold off Hooper. Straight line advantage towards the McLaren, but Hooper seems to have a better exit out of the final corner, and down the inside he goes. Job done for the Chevy Camaro driver, and Will Friedman now looking to make a move on Millington, but can't do so, and now he's under pressure from Carlos. Oh, Johnson's gone off, he's made a mistake. And he's ended up in the grass and in the wall. Here comes Carlos around the outside of Will Friedman. Both of these two compromised their run on the Aston Martin, and Friedman has to try and hold on to the inside as best he possibly can. And up the inside goes Will Friedman. They're still going to stay side by side. Meanwhile, Jamal Clouden has got Snide, Wright, O'Reilly, Hibbs, McGowan, Stardog. Where's Tordok? There's Tordok. He's dropped to the back of the pack. Oh, and we got old Sim Racer in the wall. There's Wheel also. Johnson also is in the middle of all that as well. So we'll just wait for the times to update. But Sylth and the rest of the guys ended up dropping to the back of the pack. So now Millington up into that P4 position after Johnson's little error or mistake, and is ahead of Friedman. Carlos having lost out there. We've got Wright here who's looking to attack on the back of Snide at the minute. And O'Reilly now with that monstrous McLaren onto the back of the Alpine. Is he going to send it into the penultimate corner? No, he is not. He's just going to hang in there a little longer and get back into formation. Hibbs is just behind him though, and Hibbs has looked very mighty. Pit window has opened. Has anyone opted to come in? Not at this stage. Yes, there is one car into the pits. That is Friedman, and he timed that very well, to be fair. And Friedman into the pits. So Hibbs now, look at the momentum he's got. He had a much better run through turn number one, and he's now going side by side with O'Reilly, but O'Reilly's McLaren is so strong in a straight line. He's going to be attacking right going up towards turn number two. Up to turn two they go, and Wright holds the position on the inside. Hibbs a little bit too tight on the hairpin, and is going to lose speed and momentum to the guys in front. Meanwhile, Zdanov has lost major time to Klarbo and Hooper. Hooper is absolutely flying at the minute, has caught the top two and wanting them to give him a hard time. Into the left-hander, there you go. Friedman, though, with clean air, will come back out of the pit lane and try and use that clean air to his advantage and work his way through the pack. Down the back straight, there you go. Hooper onto the back of Klarbo. And then out of the final corner they come. Hooper right onto the back of the Ginetta now, and I think Klarbo is going to struggle in a straight line here. Here comes Hooper down towards turn number one. Klarbo tries to take the normal racing line, but Hooper thinks about taking the line through number one and trying to overtake as Clouden and Snide both pit. And I think this is where Klarbo is now going to lose out with a poor exit out of turn number one. Hooper with a straight line advantage. Is he going to try and send it up into turn number two? No, he's not quite close enough. We'll go further back and see the action. It's all actually spread out a little bit due to the pit stops, but Friedman, with that early stop, has come out in clean air and is well ahead of the rest of the cars around him. Tordok is actually starting to be caught by Duffin as well. So, he's behind Duffin. So Tordok, not the best pit stop for him. But this is your closest fight out on track. It is Klarbo versus Hooper. Zdanov pulling away at the moment as well. Oh, as Carball's gone wide, that's going to unsettle the Ginetta. That's going to give an invitation for Hooper up the inside, and job done for him. But has Hooper gone a little bit too deep, possibly so, and Carball now tries to come back at him. Trying to use the agility of the Ginetta, and I think Hooper may be attempting to go through pit lane. Yes, he is, and Hooper, after finally clearing the Ginetta, chooses to stop. So maybe that will help him out, as O'Reilly has now caught on to the back of Ramsell, and Hibbs has made it very clear that he is wanting to pit. And into pit lane he comes. Down the back straight, and there O'Reilly has got a bit of a run, which will have him up the inside of Ramsell, and job done for him. O'Reilly up another position, and slowly but surely working his way up the order. It's going to be a stretch to win this race, I think, but nonetheless he is scoring some very good points. Meanwhile, McGowan has been slowly working his way onto the back of Wright, eking his way towards the back of the Alpine and trying to do something with that Mercedes-Benz. As Wright has actually made a mistake, and he's under pressure now from McGowan as they will head down towards turn number 3. And to turn number 3, there you go, McGowan to the outside, Wright to the inside. And Wright will hang on to that position, but has he gone a little bit too wide? Nope, he's managed to keep hold of that position. Meanwhile, O'Reilly is already pressurising Millington, clears one car, Millington goes wide. That's a big mistake, and that is O'Reilly through with no problems whatsoever, and job done for him. Meanwhile, Lexi's back in pit lane. He's got Matthew and Tordock going at it towards the back of the pack. Johnson and Marston also fighting at the moment. But Hooper comes out of pit lane, but there is Friedman. So Friedman's actually got the gap down to 3.8 to Hooper, and Hooper was fighting for a second and for the win. So this could be a great opportunity for Friedman here with a little bit of clean air to see where the rest of these guys all fan in after this, as McGowan and Wright are still going at it at the moment, as we are past the halfway stage of this race. Oh, we see in the background, who is that? That is Stardog having a little bit of a moment out of turn number 1. McGowan, though, not quite close enough to challenge Wright at this stage. So that Alpine just doing enough to stay away from the Mercedes. Marston still just having issues here, as now we see Tordock coming to attack Duffin. Duffin goes to defend the inside of turn 2. Tordock's going to have to go the long way round and try and outbrake the Mercedes-Benz. He's not going to do so there, and he's going to have to wait a little bit longer, and he's going to lose big points in this one, while O'Reilly will gain some massive points. Meanwhile, Freeman towards turn number 1. There is Clarball, and O'Reilly's there as well. So Friedman has already cleared Clarball. He's had a better exit, obviously, out of the final corner, and is going to be ahead and in a P3 position, while Zdanov is still leading this race. McGowan still under pressure, putting pressure onto the back of Wright. Duffin still got Tordock breathing down his neck also. Clarball losing out to Friedman in the end. Oh, that is O'Reilly still trying to make a move on Millington. Millington just give him enough space on the inside. That gives O'Reilly a poor exit. And then down towards the right-hander we go, turn number 3. And there is O'Reilly. He's along, not quite alongside us. Right now pits with McGowan. So both of those guys and Stardog all pit as well. They're pitting as soon as they possibly can. I think O'Reilly might have a little bit of damage in front of his car because he's got a little bit of light flicker. And O'Reilly's going to try and go right round the outside of Millington. Oh, and I think he's just done it. Yes, he has. A brilliant move done there by O'Reilly to gain that position. Hooper, though, leading car at the minute. That's pitted. And how much has he been hunted down by Friedman? There he is in the back from Friedman, pushing the limits. 3.1 was the gap. What's it going to be now? It is 2.9, so it's slowly coming down. The gap is slowly going down. Meanwhile, Zdanov is still leading this race. When does they decide to pit? That is the question. They've only got 2.5 minutes left to pit, so they're going to have to start thinking about it soon. So O'Reilly there pulling away from Millington as a few other guys come out of pit lane. There is McGowan and Wright. Snide is going to be splitting these two. And splitting those two, he does. He has to defend the inside from McGowan. McGowan, no, obviously struggling just to get those tyres back up to temperature, back up to pressure. So it's going to take him a lap just to get the car back exactly where it needs to be. Meanwhile, Duffin is still defending from Tordox. Tordox just not being able to make a move or make any kind of leeway at this stage of this race. There's still opportunities yet to come. We're on board with Old Sim Racer. Old Sim Racer now onto the back of Marsden. Trying to do anything to the Ginetta, no opportunities at this stage. Meanwhile, Snide is attacking Wright, so maybe Wright's had a slow outlap, and obviously the tyres and pressure is not up to where he wants them, and Snide is on the attack, going towards the outside of the penultimate corner here. And Zdanov still goes one more lap. Snide's going to try and go around the outside of the Alpine. They give each other racing room, and brilliant stuff from them as McGowan also there as well, looking to capitalise. And it gets very close, but Wright losing out in the end to Snide, and some great racing from those two. Brilliant to watch. Just onto the back of him is also Taylor. He's driving phenomenally well. Also, Snide has to defend from the Alpine. McGowan once again gets really close to the back of Wright, resuming their fight. Old Sim Racer has now got past Marston as they ended up in the wall, and Tordock still giving Duffin a hard time but can't seem to gain any advantages. Meanwhile, Carlos has been caught, has caught Klarbel. Zdanov finally pits. He's now finally pit within the pit window. Clouden, meanwhile, minding his own business, has worked his way up the order. And Will Friedman, the highest point scorer at the minute. O'Reilly currently sat in P8, and he's lost out to Hibbs. So Hibbs has jumped O'Reilly. The pit window has now closed as Will Friedman is trying to bring the gap down to Hooper. And he has taken half a second just in that middle sector. So the gap is coming down. Meanwhile, the two Cam Racing teammates are racing hard at one another. And everyone else all spread out. Here we go on board with Tordock. Seems to have a run on Matthew Duffin. And Duffin now heads up towards turn number 2. Try and brake as late as he dares to make sure he stays ahead of Tordock. Keep the momentum around the outside of Tordock. Has to bounce over the curb. And Duffin keeps holding position once again. A good little scrap from those two, actually, considering they're fighting it out. Oh, that is Wright. And he has ended up in pit lane. And Wright exit stage right. And is now making his way, doing a drive-through when he did not want to. Unlucky for him, not what we would have wanted from that stage of race. He was racing quite well with the guys around him. Zdanov comes out of the pits and behind a few of the cars. So it's Hooper leading away from Friedman. Zdanov has lost out, and there goes Carlos up the inside of Klarbel. And job done. And just behind them is that beast, that monstrous of a car, of a Camaro, of Jamal Clouden, and he is hunting down Carlos and Klarbel at a fast rate of knots. And obviously we've seen Ramsey and Millington fighting out. That's allowed Snide to get onto the back of them, as well as Clouden and Klarbel all getting congested up once again. The gap is coming down between Hooper and Friedman. 2.3 now, 1.8. Is Will Friedman going to run out of time? That is the question. Oh, and there Klarbel just has a little wiggle. That's going to give Clouden a sniff-on opportunity here. He's onto the back of the Ginetta. Oh, and Ginetta gets onto the curb. Becomes a little bit unsettled going into the entry. And now the Camaro looks for the opportunity. Comes up the inside. And Clouden now side by side with the Chevy, with the Ginetta. And I think that is job done for Clouden. Another position gain for him. More points to try and claw back his championship. Meanwhile, Hooper still has a 1.8 gap over Friedman. As they come up to the timing beam now, there's still 1.8, so the gap is pretty consistent. What else is going on? Millington has lost out to Snide, who's now onto the back of Ramsell. Duffin and Tordok, are they still fighting? No, Tordok has dropped down the order a bit. Or lost some time, actually, so he's not really dropped down the order. He's lost time as Johnson goes a little bit wide out of turn number 1 and has lost momentum. Now, can McGowan do anything about Millington? Millington seems a little bit vulnerable at this stage as his teammate does go past. Clarball, though, still trying to stick with Clouden. Clouden, that's nearly a little bit of a tongue twister. But I think we will start our final lap in a few moments' time. Out the chicane they go. Hooper going into the penultimate corner, and there you can visually see that Friedman is closer. He's wringing the neck of that Porsche to try and hunt down the Camaro. 1.3 is the gap. Friedman flashing the lights. He's stopping. Why is Friedman stopping? I'm not sure why Friedman's stopping. The race hasn't ended, mate. He's returned to pit lane. Unless he's run out of fuel, Friedman has come to the pits too early. Oh, that's the car off. That is Clarball. He's in the wall. Damage done to his car, so he's going to drop down the order. Through goes now Millington and Snide. So Snide is actually lost. Oh no, he's on the back of Ramsell now. But down the back straight they go. One of the closest fights at the minute. They're all relatively spread out. This is your closest fight, Ramsell and Snide. And just as Friedman was catching Hooper, he ends up boxing for some reason. And I'm not sure why. But nonetheless, it's been a brilliant drive from this young man. Hooper's slowly been working his way through the order and has put on a fantastic show for him. He now enters the penultimate corner. Zdanov is still going to have to be happy with that. He's going to end up finishing second in this race. But it is going to this man, the Camaro. He takes another win to his name. It is going to be Hooper, who wins the sprint here at the Red Bull Ring. Congratulations to him. Then it's going to be Zdanov who's going to come home in that second place position. Carlos for third, Clouden fourth, Hibbs fifth, O'Reilly for sixth. Has Ramsell managed to hang in there against Snide? Yes, he has. So Ramsell will come home for that seventh, ahead of Snide, ahead of Millington, ahead of Taylor, ahead of McGowan, and ahead of Stardog. Clarball is then going to end up dropping down the order. He will finish in our 13th place position. Sylph is going to finish in 14th. Starrock is going to finish in 15th after starting from the back of the pack. Johnson will start at 16th. Well, Sim Racer 17th. Right in the end, will finish in 18th place position. After his little drive-through that he probably didn't want to do. And to the line comes right for that 18th place position. Tipping is going to finish in 19th place position. He's just ahead of Marston there. And Duffin going very wide. He's going to finish in 20th position, just ahead of Tordok in 21st. Wheel is going to finish 22nd. 23rd will be Friedman, then it's Fernie, then it's Aberdeen, Smith, Marston and Archer just getting into the lobby. But it is this man, Hooper, who wins the race here. Congratulations to him. We'll be back in a few moments' time as we'll have the 5-minute qualifying session straight after this. We'll see you in a few moments' time. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we now get ourselves underway into qualifying. A reminder for these guys, it is just a short qualifying session. 5 minutes is all they get. As they work themselves down towards turn number 1, trying to get themselves prepped and ready to go for this qualifying session. They need to make sure they get their cars in the right window and make sure that they're at the best of their abilities to try and set the best lap. And I said, this is only going to be the one shot they get. It is going to be Matthew Duffin who leads them away. A few guys in the chat saying, Will Friedman, first time ever I've made this mistake. Thought race was over. Tibbs in the chat saying, good luck for everyone racing. Ramsel, let it rain or snow. Good luck to race 2. Let it be fun. Let the fun begin. So we've got some exciting drivers going into this race. And we'll see what these boys and girls can do. It's going to be Matthew Duffin who's going to set the pace while these guys start their laps. A quick rundown of the championship standings. O'Reilly's pulled away even more from Tordark, who's now second in the championship, still ahead of Sills. Hooper moves up to P4 with Clouden now in P5, Friedman P6, 7th is McGowan, 8th is Carlos, 9th is Hibbs, 10th is Duffin, Wright is 11th, and Ramsel just hanging in there for the championship, but will be out after this race, I'm sure of that. Skunky 13th with Stardog in 14th, 15th is Leach, 16th is Fernie, 17th is Taylor, 18th is Millington, 19th is Old Sim Racer. 20th is O'Brien, with Smith in 21st, Tipping in 22nd, with Clarwell 23rd, Aberdeen 24th, with Vesely in 25th. 26th is Goudet, 127th is Johnson, Unsworth in 28th, while Rook is in 29th, Archer 31st, 32nd is Cummings, 33rd is Zdanov, 34th is Wheel, Lexi in 35th, Marston in 37th, 38th going away is Starrock, Snai 39th, Jackal 40th, 41st is Betterson, and I managed to do that all in time by the time they got around into the left-handers, so we'll see what lap times these boys can produce around here. And it's all flat out, try and get as many laps as they possibly can under their belt. And I'm not sure who that is going across the start-finish line. That is the 174. That is Stardog. I don't know if he managed to possibly. I don't think so. I think Matt was the first one out. But he looked like he was coming out of pit lane. He was on the track, so. Not sure. Oh, yeah, he was. So Duffin did cross the line. He ends up 7 tenths off the pace of Jamal Cloud. And Silf now goes, Snai goes into P4. Carlos not able to set a lap time. So most of these guys will be able to put a lap time on the board as Fernie and Zdanov gets the time. Starrock gets there. Cloudball will now put a lap time on the board as O'Reilly goes fast. It's half a second quicker than Cloud, and a lot of cars not being able to put a lap time on the board. Tordock goes in P3. Nearly a second off the pace of his championship rival. The lap times coming through. Millington and Friedman put a lap time on the board and they get another lap. So everyone has an opportunity to get another lap on the board. And towards the line comes McGowan. I do not think he put a lap time on the board. No, he did not. Meanwhile, the 661... or 441, no, I'm not sure who that was. Did not anyway get a lap time. Then we've got Wright coming to the line. He goes P9 in his Alpine. And then we got Stardog coming back around. They're 741. And what lap time has Stardog got in store for us? Good evening, Ben, in the chat. And out the final corner comes Stardog. And he goes 10th, and he will sneak another lap in. Meanwhile, Duffin, this is the only circuit they'll probably get multiple laps in. And Duffin now coming out the final corner. He may get another one in again. He will. Duffin does improve. So does Snai, and Snai will get another lap. Hooper is done. Snai and Duffin are both done. even though they got those extra lap. Clouden did improve, but only gets within 9/10. Hooper returning back to the pit. Snai only 8th in the end. Here comes Clarball now. Out of the final corner, who's he chasing down? It's Starrock just ahead. Starrock, does he improve? No, he does not. Clarball does improve and make a position. O'Reilly improves the position even more and extends his gap. Here comes Tordock, 1.1 off the pace. Improves to go ahead of Hooper, but not really much she could do about that. Wright is still on a lap, as is McGowan and Ramsell. Who's that coming to the line? That was, I believe, Millington crossing the line. But here comes McGowan, his one and only lap, and it puts him a P7 in the end. Ramsell will go ahead of him in P6. And then finally we have Stardog to complete the session. Oh, sorry, Wright is now come to the line. 1.7 off the pace. Can he find a little bit more time? No, he cannot. He stays 13th. Now we just look to Stardog to complete this 5-minute qualifying session. It is a little bit fast, chaotic, but that's what we love about this series. But to the line comes Stardog, and he goes P9 with that one. So, like I said, intense, fast qualifying session, and that is that done. And it is O'Reilly once again with another pole position to his name. He's been looking absolutely mighty in this McLaren, in this GT4 championship. He has been the man to beat every single round, and he is on top form once again here at the Red Bull Ring. So, as we will get things ready to go here for the final race of tonight, we shall see who is going to be the top dog of the Red Bull Ring. So guys, get your votes in who you think is going to win this one. I will get a poll going. I say get your votes in, and I even put a poll up. Absolutely brilliant, Dan. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to be notified so you don't miss anything here at SimPlay Motorsport. Excuse me.
30 seconds.
As we've got 30 seconds until these guys will go around on their formation lap.
20 seconds.
It's getting hot for the championship. Let's try to spell Tordoc's name right and not the way I put it on the Instagram. So get your votes in on who you think is going to win this one. Reminder as well in the description as well, if you do want to be a part of the action here at SimPlay Motorsport, then head over to our Discord page and our sim grid, so you make sure you get involved in all the action here at SimPlay Motorsport. So you're getting yourselves involved, as we've got obviously the fun events that will be happening towards the mid-season break, end of season break. We look to around about 6 to 7 weeks of a break between seasons, and I'm sure we can come up with some ludicrous ideas. Obviously, we had the Audi event celebrating, I think it was 25 years since Audi won their first Le Mans. We had that, and we did the Paul Ricard circuit only with GT2s and GT3 Audis. And then we had the V8 Supercar event, where we saw the Mustangs go against the Camaros up and down the mountain of Mount Panorama, the Bathurst 1000. Obviously not really going up against one another because the Camaro didn't stand a chance. But, oh, Cloudens just dropped it live on stream, so that's brilliant. Nice to caught that. That's quite funny. But also a reminder as well, while you're reading through the description as well, have a look at our fantastic sponsors, Design Manchester, Audio Sport. Design Manchester, producers of vinyl graphics, laser embroidered gifts, mugs, printed clothing, and much, much more, including the SimPlay merchandise. And Audio Sport, manufacturers of VW Transporter T4 audio solutions and styling products. Head over to www.audiosport.co.uk. Their Facebook link is also there as well. So far, I've only got one vote, and it's going the way of O'Reilly. So people thinking O'Reilly is going to win this feature race. Obviously, not the same feature race you'd have for the GT3s. The GT3s have an hour. The GT4s only have 45 minutes. So the guys now getting themselves into position. They're getting their final preparations done. Reminders are these cars do not have tyre blankets, so they don't have anything to keep the tyres warm. So they have to try and produce as much temperature and as much brake pressure as possible to try and bring those cars up to temperature, bring them exactly where they need to be, ready for the start of this race as they now go in a 2x2 formation. It is McLaren versus Chevrolet on the front row, and it is O'Reilly versus Clouden. Who is going to come out on top? That is the question. As they now come down the main straight, we now wait for the green for the second race this week at the Red Bull Ring, our second night race. We now wait for starters' orders. We are green and racing here at the Red Bull Ring as they head down towards turn number 1, and O'Reilly has had slightly better start, but Clouden is going to send it up the inside and abuse the inside curb like the Camaro can do. But O'Reilly, with a bit of a poor exit there, is going to try and out-drag the Camaro. He's on the right side, though, to try and attack the Chevy Camaro up towards turn number 2. Yes, Clouden got the job done in turn 1, but he's going to lose out in turn 2 as everyone else works their way up towards the hill. But Clouden can use the banky, but he's gone too deep. Clouden's messed up the corner and has lost out there as everyone else try and work their way back to position. Duffy, meanwhile, in the middle of a scrap between McGowan and Silth. How about everyone else? We've all managed to get through the first couple laps with no real incidences, and everyone's still facing the right way. Just in the background there, Snide looks like he's on the move on the outside. Oh, as Zdanov has made contact with Carlos, and Carlos getting a little bit of damage there and dropping to the back of the pack, so he's ended up in trouble. Meanwhile, Tordok and Friedman are still going out, and Jamal Clouden is coming back on the attack of O'Reilly. Around the outside he goes, and job done. Where's he look now? I do not know a move around the outside. He's got the job done on O'Reilly, but that has kept the top 5 relatively close to one. And Klabel with a brilliant race start there in the bronze car, sticking with the top guys as they head down towards the penultimate corner now. Friedman just giving enough room there for Tordok. Tordok gives him a shove, but O'Reilly's back up the inside of Clouden. Clouden's going to try and hold it strong on the outside. He does so, and they're still side by side. Red Bull Ring produces some great racing, but here comes the McLaren. Better in a straight line. Is it better on the brakes than the Camaro? And job done there for O'Reilly, but Clouden's going to keep his foot pinned. And oh, there's Klabel, there's all sorts of trouble. Duffin managing to avoid it, but Klabel has managed to get away with it relatively unscathed. And oh, there goes Starrock. He's had his own moment by the looks of things. So Starrock ended up in the wall. He's again not managed to take anyone with him. Luckily, they've all managed to avoid that, but Clouden's still going at it with O'Reilly. They're still side by side. Awesome first lap racing here. As now Clouden on the outside, he's on the wrong part of the circuit, and O'Reilly should have the better line, but Clouden's still going to hold it strong on the outside. Friedman just sitting there, watching this whole fight unfold, and just see that Jamal Clouden's just not having any of it, and trying to give O'Reilly a hard time, because he knows for a fact as soon as O'Reilly gets into clean air, he is gone. Meanwhile, what's happened anywhere else? Zdanov has pulled away from Ramsell. Where's Duffin? Duffin's dropped down the order once again. So another night where Duffin is probably sitting there thinking, why did I bother? But he is, he's kept going, he's kept it on track. And oh, there we see Smith there having a little wobble, and that's going to allow Millington up the inside. Is Stardock going to have a run as well? That's the question, as Carlos now working his way to work a recovery race here. Oh, Smith looks up the inside of Millington and gets very close, ends up running wide. Meanwhile, the MSA boys are attacking Friedman. We've got Tordok and Hooper. Hooper managing to mug both Porsches and get ahead of the pair of them. Now McGowan's on the back of him, as now Jamal Clouden has gone with O'Reilly. And there we see Will Friedman just sticking to the back of Hooper. He's going to try and send it up the inside of turn number 2 probably. And yes, he does. He leaves a late dart to the inside. He's going to be later on the brace. He goes way too deep. And a mistake there from Friedman is going to drop into the back of this group. So now McGowan's going to gain on that one. Snide, meanwhile, is on the back of Zdanov with Ramsdell just behind him as well. Fernie with a decent start. Hibbs there with Johnson, Clarball, Millington, Johnson, Stardog, sorry. Aberdeen, Carlos, Archer, all these guys close to one another. And then Duffin at the back with Marston and Wheels at a big moment. He's gone off into the gravel. But Snyder looking a little bit competitive against Zdanov there. They're just all following one another at the minute, but O'Reilly seems to be trying to extend the gap over Clouden. He managed to survive the first couple of laps against the onslaught from the Camaro, but now O'Reilly's got the clean air. What can Hooper do now? He's got the clean air. Can he now pull away from the pack behind him, or is he going to be the new trolley train for the ever-growing angry pack, as Silth is just getting onto the back of it now? But O'Reilly is extending the gap. 1.1 is the gap. No real fight happening here. Let's look further back, as there we see Fernie under pressure from Hibbs. Hibbs looking to try and attack the Ginetta of Fernie. Clarball's into the pits. Obviously, amount of damage done to his car obviously has forced him to pit. Meanwhile, Carlos looking up the inside of Stardog, and that will be job done, I think. Yes, it will. And Carlos now looking at a little bit of straight line speed here, as here comes Smith as well. So Smith now going on the attack of Carlos. No, he's not far enough alongside, but he will get Stardog. So job done there for Smith. Meanwhile, Hooper has still got Tordog, Friedman, McGowan and Silth breathing down their neck. Everyone else at the minute just evenly spread out. There's no real fights at the minute, tipping ahead of Duffin. Duffin's brought that gap down. Can he now find a way through? As he's now onto the back of the Ginetta fight. And through the S's they go. Duffin not able to get any closer. Meanwhile, Will Friedman is now attacking Tordog once again. He's looking to the outside of turn number 1. He's going to try and get a better X. Oh, they made contact on Tordog there. Just leaving it a little bit late to turn in. And Friedman thought he was going to be turning in, but Tordog there having to kind of hold his line a little bit. Friedman not able to really go for the undercut there, and that's just allowed Hooper to pull away. And Friedman now under pressure from McGowan. Meanwhile, further back, we have Aberdeen, Taylor and Old Sim Racer all burning out for the 19th, 20th and 21st position, as Old Sim Racer looks to the outside and not able to do it there, and can't get the traction either, so he's not going to be able to attack. Meanwhile, I think Wright was on the move. Yes, he is trying to attack Johnson. Johnson, but Johnson's gone wide and has lost out there, and Hibbs is then his next target. Meanwhile, here we go. Snye up the inside of Fernie. Fernie sees him, gives him the racing room, but Snye hits the gravel and grass a little bit too much on the inside, and he loses out because of that and loses momentum, so he's not able to attack the back of the Camaro. Meanwhile, McGowan has started to give a little bit of pressure to the back of Friedman, but not able to do anything with it. Friedman in the corner seems to be good enough to just keep the McGowan Mercedes-Benz away, but that was a good exit from McGowan, so we could see an opportunity here. Let's head up towards turn number 1. McGowan now has made that mistake and has now put Sylph right on his back bumper. Sylph now looking to the outside of turn number 2. It's going to be very difficult to do in the Ginetta, but he's going to try and outbrake the Mercedes. Goes around the outside, tries to get a better traction onto the curb, but McGowan with a poor exit himself, and he's going to lose out. Meanwhile, Hibbs up the inside of Fernie. And Fernie there losing out to Hibbs. But Fernie, though, looking to come back at Hibbs around the outside. Snai is the biggest loser out of all this. And down the inside goes Hibbs. It's going to be a shoulder barge. Yes, there is. But Fernie still holding it strong on the outside. He'll have the inside for then the left-hander. And is he going to be brave enough? Fernie sends it up the inside. It's a bit bold. Hibbs sees him. He gives him room. And they're still side by side. They're now going to the left-hander. Hibbs is going to try and go all the way around the outside. He's out into the marbles now, but he'll get a good slingshot out of the corner, and he's still there. They're still side by side. The Ginetta mighty in the corners. Mercedes a lot stronger in a straight line. It's quite an even match through this middle sector, but Snai's now going around the outside of Hibbs. So the Pro-Am boys going at it hard here. But Fernie hangs in there just that little bit longer as everyone else seems to be getting close. Well, this is your closest fight at this present time. And here comes Snai attacking Hibbs. He's going to go right to the outside. He's going to try and get a better exit and attack these two with a slingshot, but he's not done it. Now, with all this going on right, and I believe that's Millington and Johnson are creeping onto the back of these three as well. Meanwhile, Sylph has gone back up the inside of McGowan. McGowan's come back on the attack, but not been able to do anything with it, as Will Friedman has caught Tordock. And Clouden not being able to go with O'Reilly as Clarball has had damage to his car. Zdanov being under pressure from Ramsell. But this is still the fight at the minute, and you can see now the consequences of fighting Fernie hard. It's allowed Wright, Millington and Johnson all to get onto the back of this train. And Fernie now trying to do everything he can to try and pull away from Hibbs, while Snai is too busy looking in his rearview mirror because he's got Wright right behind him and breathing down his neck. And through the S's, there you go. And Wright not being able to do anything with Snai. Meanwhile, Hooper back under pressure from Tordock and Will Friedman. Not quite close enough to really mount an attack. And Ramsell has got Zdanov. Zdanov made a mistake possibly somewhere. Oh, but he gets a great exit out of the final corner and nearly hits the back of the Aston Martin driver, but has to kind of check up there and is going to have to fall in line. And there is Snai. He's made a mistake. He's dropping down the order. And once again, Fernie is under pressure, this time from Hibbs. Down there looking close to attacks Ramsell, but Ramsell just having a better exit and a better run through the straights, and Zdanov not able to go with him. So already he's been close patch racing at the minute. Aberdeen there looks like he's made a mistake as he's being passed by Duff in there. And here comes Old Sim Racer as well. So Old Sim Racer making moves to the outside of the track, and Aberdeen's going to try to stay on the inside. Oh, an Old Sim Racer nearly hits the back of Duffin and goes near enough around the outside. He's off circuit. He'll have to yield that position. And Old Sim Racer does get ahead of Duffin. Old Sim Racer goes a little bit deep into the corner, and Duffin just seems to be absolutely struggling at this stage of this race. Meanwhile, Snai once again under some immense pressure from McGowan. And down the back straight, there you go. And again, McGowan just can't seem to be doing anything with the Ginetta. It seems to get good enough traction, good enough drive, and with that, he can't attack it. Hibbs once again catching onto the back of him. Meanwhile, Johnson looking up the inside of Snipe, but can't get the job done there. Carlos now is interested in this fight with Millington just in the background. Meanwhile, Duffin has now cleared Old Sim Racer, but is Old Sim Racer gonna come back at Duffin once again? Archer has actually pulled away from this gaggle of cars. They were breathing on top of him, but he's actually just pulled away. Down towards the hairpin they go. Old Sim Racer manages to make his brakes and not go for an unwanted attack. Hooper, meanwhile, still pulling away from Tardok. Will Friedman is actually closer to Tardok now than the times are telling us. So it's 4:10 separating them, so their fight's continuing on. Silth has actually pulled away from McGowan now. So McGowan, a little mistake possibly in the middle sector. Is now Hibbs really looking interested on Fernie. Looking left, looking right, looking for any opportunity he possibly can. And Ramsel at the moment, your leading silver driver. And down towards the far end of the circuit, Hibbs trying his absolute best to try and find a way past on 30, but he can't seem to do so. Tordok now has to look more in his mirror once again, because here comes Friedman. Once again, he is on the attack of him, as Wright, meanwhile, is being attacked by Snye. So Snye has slowly worked his way onto the back of Wright. Wright taking a tighter line there, and Snye just goes around the outside, gets the job done, and here comes Carlos just to add salt to the injury. Add salt to the wound, that's what I meant to say. Well, I was thinking insult to injury and salt to the wound. But either way, Carlos goes around the outside and Wright losing out there. And Millington is under attack for... Oh, sorry, Millington's just got Johnson done. So around the outside he goes. And while all this is going on, Duffin has just got past Archer, who's got Old Sim Racer still there, and they've all caught Smith. And while all this is going on, they're going to try and slowly catch their way onto the back of Stardog, who's 4.6 down the road, so a bit of a trek to go. But Old Sim Racer looking up the inside of Archer, but can't. He's not close enough. Archer's gone a little bit deep there. Benning's gone a little bit deep, so that's going to make him compromised here. Old Sim Racer's looking up the inside, but that's not going to be the position that he'll get, because Archer will have then the inside of the next corner. Meanwhile, Hooper has lost a little bit of time to Tordog and Friedman. They're all just matching one another at the moment. They're not really setting in blistering lap times. McGowan has lost out here, as Ramsel has lost a lot of time here to Hibbs, who's finally cleared Fernie. They're trying to pull away from him. Snye's now ahead of Carlos, ahead of Wright, ahead of Millington, ahead of Johnson, then Taylor, then Stardog. And now we've got Smith going wide, and that's Duffin up the inside, and job done for him. Meanwhile, Old Sim Racer has got past Archer here, but Archer back up the inside of Old Sim Racer, and just behind them is Aberdeen. And Aberdeen looking to capitalise on this, and Old Sim Racer still side by side with Archer. Up towards turn number 2 they go. Camaro sticking to the outside. Old Sim Racer will have the inside. Izzy later on the brakes. Archer gives him the racing room. He can use the outside to his momentum, and Old Sim Racer barges him wide, and Starrock is now onto the back of these two as well.
Pit window is open.
The pit window has now opened, and still these two are side by side. Old Sim Racer, as he finally got the job done, as Aberdeen flashes light at Starrock, he's still they're still side by side. No, that's it. Old Sim Racer has finally got the job done, and Archer has to concede to that one, or has he? Because Old Sim Racer possibly gone a little bit too deep. He has given the racing room here, and Starrock and Aberdeen have had a much better run through that left-hander, and is right on the back of Archer. Oh, and the two Janettas banging doors. Starrock and Archer, as Hibbs pits straight away. He's the early pitter. And Starrock staying to the inside. Millington also opting to pit as well. But all these guys at a minute fighting it hard at the back end of the track. Meanwhile, Tordok has lost out to Friedman, so Friedman has got ahead of Tordok. Has Tordok made the mistakes? He's quite close to Sylph and McGowan. McGowan's now starting to get a little bit of momentum, a little bit of a groove to catch Sylph, but it's still coming up towards the halfway of this race. It's O'Reilly with a healthy gap of 5.1 seconds ahead of Jamal Clown, ahead of Hooper in P3, Friedman in P4, or Tordok is in P5. P6 is Sylph, while McGowan is in P7. Zdanov is in P8, while Ramsel is P9. Fernie is in P10 with Snai in P11. Carlos P12 with Wright and Johnson going at it for 13th and 14th. Stardog in 15th with Duffin in 16th. Smith 17th with Old Sim Racer in 18th. Aberdeen 19th. Archer 20th. 21st Tipping. Marston 22nd. Starrock 23rd. And Hibbs, after pitting, has been jumped by Millington. So Millington has jumped him in the pits. And also Taylor is in the pits, as is Wheel, and Clarbel now comes through as well. As your leader carries on with another lap. And as you can see, all the gaps are pretty much spread out. There's no real close fights at the minute. Probably the closest fight is these Ginettas at the back of Tipping and Marsden. They're going at it at the moment. But again, not quite close enough to really do battle. Meanwhile, Carlos seems to be under some pressure from Wright and Johnson. Down towards the second hairpin. And Carlos just still hangs on to that position ahead of Wright. Right, actually a poor exit there has put himself under pressure from Johnson. Johnson's going to look down the inside of turn 3. And he's going to try and be later on the brakes. Is he going to get the job done? Yes, he is. He's possibly gone a little bit too deep. Yes, he has. As then Wright just comes back up the inside. And job done for him. But nope, Johnson, no. I say job done because Johnson's now back up the inside for the left-hander. And Wright has to compromise and lift and come out of the throttle, and Johnson gets that job done once again. So Johnson gets the position. O'Reilly decides to pin relatively early here, so that might put him in a little bit of traffic, to be fair, but we'll see how that all pans out, because whereas Wright has made it very clear that he is wanting to come into the pit lane, as you said, Johnson goes wide. O'Reilly in pit lane. Where's the early pitters? There is Millington. Yeah, the gap is actually big enough that he'll drop into quite nicely, actually. So he may have played that quite well because he's going to have some clean air with no one really around him. Other fights that are going on at the minute, there's no real close fights. It is just Ramsel, Millington and Hibbs at the minute. They're quite close to one another. And Millington done a good job of staying ahead of Hibbs after the pit stops. Oh, sorry, getting ahead of him in the pit stops. O'Reilly's already gone green and he's been released off his limiter. That is where he's ended up. He has ended up in a little bit of traffic. Who is that? That is Archer. He's going to end up behind. So that's for position as well. So Archer is intended to actually fight with O'Reilly. So that might hold him up ever so slightly. But Jamal Clouden, though, has got a lovely gap to Hooper and is in quite a groove at the minute and pulling away from these two. So Archer, like I said, is intent to fight O'Reilly, but chooses not to and allows him through. We are at the halfway stage of this race. And I'll end the poll there. Majority reckon that O'Reilly is going to win this one. And I have no doubt about it that he will. Unless something dumb happens, but Hooper's coming to the pit. Friedman stays out, so does Sylph. Zdanov as well, all staying out at this stage. Snai, though, is looking to try and work his way up the order as best he can. Zdanov into pit lane. Sylph with the clean air now. What can he do with that clean air? Friedman also, no Camaro in his way. Can he just use the clean air to his advantage now? And get onto terms, get onto pace. Hibbs, meanwhile, still giving Millington a hard time, but can't find a way through. Tordok kind of on in no man's land at the minute. Stardog is onto the back at Tipping. There is Tipping. Stardog just behind him. Stardog going around. He has some Tipping's letting Stardog through actually. So Tipping not wanting to fight with the Mercedes-Benz for some reason. As Hooper now comes out of pit lane. Where is there is Will, and O'Reilly is already up the hill. That's how much of a gap that O'Reilly has over Hooper. Meanwhile, Hibbs there putting Millington under pressure. Millington having to defend the inside, probably more than he wanted to. Down the back straight, there you go. Hibbs, no real opportunity there. Millington doing a great job of just defending at the minute. There's no real opportunity that Hibbs has been given. There's no opportunity that he can attack the Aston Martin as we go on board with Hibbs. Millington just doing a great job defending at the minute. There's Mercedes-Benz of Hibbs. Once again, Fernie, I think, is under a bit of pressure from Old Sim Racer. Old Sim Racer is side by side with Fernie. We got a little bit of action here, and Fernie and Old Sim Racer going at it. Who's just ahead of him? That looks like Friedman is ahead of him. Yeah, Friedman's lapped them. So Friedman clearing these guys at a minute. So Clouden has pitted. Where's this going to feed him out? There is O'Reilly, long gone down the back straight, a second straight, and Clouders only now coming out of pit lane. Where is Hooper? There he is in the background. So, all still the same towards the front. And Hibbs once again pressurising Millington. There's the opportunity he probably needed. As we go on the helicopter cam with these two. And is Hibbs firing off alongside? No, he's not. He's losing straight line advantage to the Aston Martin, but tries to get a better exit, but fails to do so. And may I also say, a fantastic job from all the drivers for not getting a drive through at the minute. It's very difficult to do so around this circuit, as Old Sim Racer was racing Fernie, and Fernie has now dropped down the order. But Hibbs once again not able to get the exit. He wanted to attack the back of the Aston Martin of Millington. Well, Friedman is now in a pit, as is Carlos. As Smith now comes into pit lane, as O'Reilly's got a gap of 6.9 seconds ahead of Jamal Clan. He's ahead of Hooper, 5.2, and Tordok is another 6.4 behind. Where's Friedman going to feed into all that? That's the question, as Snai now takes the lead of this race. But it's still Millington versus Hibbs. And there you can see Hibbs get some great exits, get some great runs out of corners. But once again, the Mercedes-Benz just can't seem to do anything about the Aston Martin. Down towards the final corner. And that time round, a better exit. Carlo has got himself a stop-and-go penalty for speeding through the pit lane. And now Millington has just managed to stay ahead. Snai stayed out another lap, and the pit window has closed for him. So Snai's judged that really badly. Unless he's thinking, I'm not going to pit, I'm just going to go to the end and just deal with the penalty that I have. That would be bold, but he's coming into pit lane now. But the pit lane is now closed, so he's going to get a penalty, sadly. Friedman, meanwhile, after the pit stop, has caught onto the back of Jamal Clouden and has dropped Hooper. So a great strategy there from Friedman. That's now put him ahead of Hooper and now chasing down Clouden. there we can see Friedman trying to hunt him down. Meanwhile, Hibbs and Millington are still going at it at the minute. No other real close fights. The Stardog and Archer quite close to one another. That's probably the only other closest fight that it is on track. But it is Millington and Hibbs having an absolutely titanic battle. Once again, Hibbs just not able to use his advantage, and Snide does come out of pit lane, but he's not done the pit stop. So where would that have put him? It would have put him just ahead of this Millington Hibbs fight. Yeah, it has. It would have put him ahead of Ramsel. I think no, Millington's gone round. He's gone round. He's made the mistake, and he's dropped down the order. And he's got going once again. So that fight that was on track has gone now. Meanwhile, we got this fight, Carlos versus Ramsel, which again won't last very long because Carlos has got a penalty to serve. So Carlos now has to lose a couple of positions due to a penalty. Duffin, meanwhile, has got onto the back of a lapped car. An old sim racer is now catching Smith. So Team Tom, Team 8 are going at it. Going Team and Tom. And we see there Clarball has got past Will, so another position gain for him. Meanwhile, O'Reilly leads quite comfortably with less than 15 minutes to go of this race ahead of Jamal Clan. 8.1 is the gap as Friedman has got the gap down to 1.6. He's trying to chase Clown as best he can. 3.2 to Hooper. Then we got Tordok, who's been chased by his good friend Silth. Zdanov and McGowan having a great little scrap here. Zdanov having a great race here in that Mercedes-Benz. But here comes McGowan down the inside, and Carlos has been disqualified for track limits now. So not only did he have a penalty, but also he pushed the limits of track limits, and he has been disqualified. And McGowan gets the job done. Smith's gone wide, old sim racer up the inside. And Smith, meanwhile, trying to stay in the toe of his teammate. That's that. I thought Red Bull Ring would have produced some close racing, but it turns out it's been fairly spread out for most of this one. No real close fights at the minute. Everyone's pretty much spread out on the track. So this gives me a great opportunity for you guys to say, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be notified so you do not miss anything here at SimPlay Motorsport. And this is your race leader in a comfortable lead at this stage, with no one around to worry about, and just extends the gap even more to Jamal Clouden. And Zdanov having another kind of looking like he's had a little bit of a crack at McGowan, but I think McGowan just seems to be a little bit too quick for him. But Zdanov has to pat himself on the back. He's the leading silver driver at the minute, ahead of Snai, who's not done his pit stop, ahead of Ramsel and Hibbs, who looked very, very quick in the race earlier on in practice, but just doesn't have to seem to turn it into a competitive race. Right, meanwhile, is ahead of Taylor. As they go through turn number 1, and Taylor is trying to hunt down Wright as best he can. Meanwhile, Duffin has caught onto the back of Millington, Millington is on the back marker of Wheel, who gets out of the way. Duffin is right behind him. So Duffin, although he's been dropped to the back of the pack at the start of the race, he has slowly and surely worked his way back up into possibly the top 15 once he gets past Millington. But I'm sure Millington is going to give him a hard time. Sorry about that, just a quick swig of my drink there. But then again, Taylor still in that Ginetta and the Alpine, they seem fairly even, those two. Similar power, similar weight. At the minute, Wright just doing everything he possibly can just to stay ahead. Duffin now is on to the back of Millington. As Stardog looked up the inside of Fernie. It appears to have no lights on, but again, we've seemed to realise that this seems to be a glitch at times. So Fernie will just have to prove that he has got his lights on. But Stardog all over the back of him. But can't seem to find a way through at this stage. Meanwhile, Clarball gets out of the way of the fighting Wright and Taylor. And Duffin has done Millington already, so job done for him. But we go back to this fight. And there's Fernie just ahead. And you see there, Stardog got a much better exit. Nothing that Fernie can do. He's about to get out-dragged by a Mercedes-Benz. And towards the inside of turn number 1 they go, and Stardog is up another position. Millington is actually coming back at Duffin, so Duffin may have not quite got the job done quite as easy as he first thought, because Millington is coming back at him. And Taylor once again looking a little bit more competitive onto the back of Wright as well. Oh, and Duffin goes a bit wide. That's going to give Millington a possible sniff of an opportunity. Through the S's they go. Duffin just now pulling away from Millington. I think Millington, he's got to wait for Duffin to make a serious mistake for the opportunity to arise. Like that, Duffin goes wide. Millington has a better exit out the final corner. And side by side they go once again. Millington to the inside of turn number 1. Duffin just outbreaks a little bit later, and Millington not with quite the confidence that he needed. Meanwhile, Ramsell has caught Snye. But Snye, once again, is just going to have to drop down the order due to penalties coming his way. But here we go. Taylor is now making a move on Wright. And Wright losing out to Taylor. He goes back into the slipstream. Wright's going to look up the inside of Taylor. He can't quite get far enough alongside. But nonetheless, great drive from these two. Matt Wright really hustling the back of Taylor. As Taylor has managed to get the job done, but can't seem to get back onto terms with the car in front. The Alpine now looks like he's got a little bit of a good opportunity here. Just, he had a much better run through the final few corners there. Or down the main straight they go. Wright looks to the inside. But no opportunity there. That's going to compromise his exit, and he's not going to be able to be in the slipstream to then attack up towards the next corner. So a little bit of a bit of a yo-yo effect there. Gets close, then has to kind of drop back a bit. But again, this is your closest fight once again, as Ramsell gets close to Snye, but not really close enough to attack. Right, once again, gets closer in the braking zone, but not really to give Taylor a hard time. He needs to put the pressure on him like he did to him earlier on. poll out for driver of the day. So get your votes in on who you think deserves that one. But there you can see how close Wright has got to the back of that Ginetta, and he's going to look to the inside of penultimate corner. But Taylor is keeping his car strong, he's keeping it turned in, and Wright has to just concede a little bit here. But Wright now can't seem to find a way back through the Ginetta. We're coming up to just 5 minutes left of this race. We'll do a final run through of the order. It is O'Reilly with fastest lap, pole position and leading. He's got pretty much a grand slam here. Had to retire, my arm is hurting me. Such a shame, Clarball. Rest it up, bud. And you have to come back next time, but a shame for that one, buddy. Cloud in second at the minute with Friedman in third, Hooper in fourth, with Tardok in fifth, Silth in sixth, with McGowan in seventh. Zdanov leading the silver class, but in eighth place position ahead of Snai, ahead of Ramsell. Then it's Hibbs ahead of Taylor, ahead of Wright. Then it's Johnson ahead of Duffin. Millington in 16th with Old Sim Racer in 17th. Aberdeen in 18th with Stardock in 19th. Archer in 20th with Fernie 21st, Tipping 22nd with Starrock in 23rd, Marston 24th, Smith 25th, Wheel in 25th now as Smith has pitted. He's got 26th, and Gary Clarball having to retire due to pains in his arm. But once again, Wright and Taylor get close to one another, and Ramsell gets close to Snai, and Duffin is onto the back of Johnson, so more positions possibly gained for a couple of the guys here. At the minute, Taylor just seems to have the edge over the Alpine driver of Wright. Just there's no answer for him at the minute. Oh, this could be an opportunity. Taylor looked like he was going a bit deep there, but Wright in the end actually made his own mistake, trying to carry too much speed through there. Johnson, meanwhile, is under pressure from Duffin. Here he comes to the inside. It goes Duffin, but he has to drop back into the slipstream. He knows how mighty that McLaren is in a straight line. And to the outside will Duffin go. He'll try and get the cut back on the McLaren, try and get a better exit, but he gets it a little bit too early and is unable to really get alongside the McLaren driver. Meanwhile, Wright once again doesn't quite get close enough to Taylor. Not really an opportunity for him to attack there. Was Duffin there, gets all over the curb, and Johnson pulls away once again as O'Reilly seems to just be cruising at the minute because Clouden is drive-through penalty for 22 for track limits. That is Starrock. The gap seems to be coming down ever so slightly to O'Reilly and Clouden, but not dramatically enough. So O'Reilly just in cruise mode as Friedman is comfortably ahead of Hooper. Everyone else really kind of spread out as Snai still keeps Ramsell behind him. It's really this fight. Oh, as Wright's made a mistake! Has he kept it out of the wall? Yes, he has. Sebastian Vettel style, away from the wall. And that's positions gains for these two as Wright tries to right himself. And he manages to do so without causing any issues, and he carries on through. So Wright probably kicking himself right now. But here comes Duffin. He's now losing time to Johnson ever so slightly. So he was within half a second of him, but Johnson pulling away. Possibly the Snai Ramsell fight, and Zdanov has actually made a mistake to lose a little bit of time here to Snai and Ramsell. So Zdanov doesn't have to worry about Snai too much. It's more actually it's more to Ramsell he has to worry about, because obviously Snai's going to get that time penalty for not doing his pit stop within the pit window. That's his problem he's going to have. There's a car off in the far end of the second. I believe that is Wheel, just staying out of the way. Yes, it is. Starrock has now pitted and done his drive-through. Well, has he? He's left the session as Starrock. So Brilliant. The Duffin did get close to the back of Johnson then, but not quite close enough. The gap is 7 seconds now, so O'Reilly clearing some traffic has allowed Clouden to gain a second. There's no point getting excited about it at this stage because it's looking pretty clear that O'Reilly seems to have this one in the bag. We'll go on board with your race leader just in case he crosses the line to win the race. But into the final sector he goes. I do think we are going to do another rotation. As he comes into the penultimate corner. And I think we will do another lap around the Red Bull ring. He hasn't quite got the gap to slow down to Clouden. Oh, Smith hitting me one in the background, sideways behind Archer.
Okay, the leader is on the final lap now. Give it all you can.
As O'Reilly now starts his final lap here at the Red Bull ring. And it's just been a night once again where he just gains points and extends the gap to his championship contenders. But down the back straight comes O'Reilly. Meanwhile, Zdanov has made some form of error, and Snai goes up the inside. Job done for him. And Zdanov probably going, okay, mate, you can go. I'm not really fazed by you. But his main threat now is Ramsel. And there you can see Snai is using the slipstream at the minute. He's trying to go and get past Wheel. He manages to do so, but Ramsel now attacking Zdanov around the outside. Can't seem to do it as Ramsdell has to probably stay in track limits. He's been pushing the limits ever so slightly. Meanwhile, Duffin's got back onto the rear end of Johnson. I'm just keeping an eye on where O'Reilly is on the circuit. But Johnson just staying ahead of Duffin at the minute. But Zdanov still defending heavily from Ramsdell, but that's going to make the mistake there as Ramsdell is going to come back underneath, and Zdanov looking good to take the leading silver class, but it is this man coming into the penultimate corner and is going to extend his championship lead once again. It is looking like it is going the way of O'Reilly this season. Kieran O'Reilly with another race to his name. The McLaren wins the Red Bull feature race. Jamal Clouden with a strong P2 crosses the line ahead of Will Friedman in third. Then it's going to be Hooper in P4. P5 we're going to see Tordok, and then P6 will be Silth. So Tordok comes towards the line now, losing points to his championship contenders here. Meanwhile, Silth exits the final corner to gain 6th place position. McGowan all the way down in that 7th place position. Kind of a lonesome race in the end. He's going to come home for that 7th place position. Snai with a brilliant recovery drive, but pitted at the wrong time. He now crosses the line for P8. So Ramsel will then go out, as was Zdanov. Hibbs catches him in the end. Hibbs will stay ahead of Johnson, who's got Duffin still breathing down his neck. And Duffin and Johnson going at it. But Johnson hangs in there ahead of Duffin for 14th place. Millington is going to come home for 15th. Wright will finish in that 16th place position. And then we got Aberdeen, Old Sim Racer, and Stardog rounding off the top 19. And they all crossed the line. Archer's ended up in the wall. He's now in 20th position. Fernie in 21st, Tipping 22nd, Marsden 23rd, Smith 24th, Wheel 25th, Starrock 26th, Clarball 27th, Lexi 28th, and Carlos 29th. And that is that. And I believe we've only got the top 3 that usually come in for a chat. It is usually only Clouden who will probably come in. I'll double check who got the sprint race. Hooper and Zdanov and Carlos. So we won't hear from any of them. It just probably will be Jamal Clouden we will hear from, as I will get him into the party. Uh, 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 uh. And that is that. GT4s have been bringing all the action. Once again, it's been brilliant to watch. The tables now get updated. But O'Reilly once again continuing on a great form here. And O'Reilly really has been the man to beat this season. He's been phenomenal once again in this one. It's just who can stop him at the minute? That is the question. As we're still just waiting to see if we got Clouden in the chat. I believe we do. Yes, we do indeed. And while we wait for the tables, we shall talk to the man himself. Clouden, are you there?
I is here.
First things first, good evening, buddy, and a great night's worth of racing for yourself. That Camaro looked very, very good in your hands this evening. Just talk about how the car felt in general.
I'll be honest, the car just felt absolutely rubbish all week. I was not looking forward to tonight, and yeah, I was trying my hardest to find a middle ground with this car. But for some reason, race one, I'd done something. I think I changed like 3 things, and the car just felt sweet. I changed 2 more things for race 2, and yeah, she was just an absolute missile. She was absolutely on form. So yeah, I'm happy.
Obviously, earlier on in this race, you really did give O'Reilly a hard time right at the beginning of the race. Is that really your only real strategy? Is kind of just stop him from getting the lead he needed and kind of hold him up for the rest of it? Because let's be honest, he's been phenomenal this season in the GT4s.
Yeah, there's just no stopping O'Reilly. I mean, it's scary to think that the guy's got 40 kilos worth of ballast and he's just got that pace. It's not even remotely funny. You know what I mean? Like, the guy is a true through and through racer, and I mean it's hard to keep him behind as it is. I mean, I tried doing that at Imola, and it was a real struggle. So again, anything could happen in the rest of the season. I'm not too sure what he's going to be like at Alton Park in the McLaren because obviously it's quite bumpy, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Not a lot of straights as well, and I think this is where it seems to be where the McLaren seems to thrive. When there's kind of a lot of straights, it seems to be quite dominant. I can't remember what track it was that really, really did struggle, but Alton Park should help actually the Camaro. Let's obviously talk about Alton Park next track of the season, possibly one of the hardest circuits to overtake. The reverse grid's going to be challenging. Not alone the race itself. Qualifying is going to be so key there, isn't it?
100%. I mean, really and truly, you might as well class it as the UK Monaco because of how tight it is. Like you said, there's not many straights. It's tight and twisty, quite bumpy, very narrow. The Camaro, it likes it around there. I enjoy it around there. Again, the brakes are probably going to be a massive factor, but with the curbs, it should just swallow them up easy.
Well, nonetheless, mate, congratulations on the podium tonight and a fantastic drive nonetheless. The fans have also equalised Hooper, yourself, and O'Reilly for driver of the day. I'm going to make it a 4-way tie because I thought Zdanov has driven brilliantly as well. So all 4 of you so far driver of the day. So evenly spread out on that one.
Thank you very much, guys. Cheers.
And that is that for the GT4 champion Red Bull Ring round. Next round of the championship will be at Alton Park for these guys, but obviously the rest of the week looks like this. We've got the Pro-Ams tomorrow night brought to you by Lexi. She'll be bringing you all the action, and then we've also got the pros as well. They'll take it on Thursday night with Matthew Duffin and Kelly Davis as well. Regarding the championship standings, it looks like this. O'Reilly leads the way, 148 points ahead of Tordock. Silth in P3 with Hooper in P4. P5 is Clouden, and P6 is Friedman. That is incredibly close between those guys. It's roughly around about 40 points separating from second down to sixth. So that's a close battle. McGowan in P7, Hibbs in P8, P9 is Carlos, P10, and Duffin just hanging in there for the championship, but it looks like he'll probably be out of it come next week at Alton Park. Wright in 11th with Ramsell in 12th, Skunky in 13th as Taylor in 14th, Stardog 15th, 16th is Fernie, 17th is Millington, 18th is Leach, 19th Old Sim Racer. Global in 20th, 21st is O'Brien, Aberdeen 22nd, Smith in 23rd, Tipping 24th, Johnson 25th, 26th, Vestley, Goudet 27th, Unsworth 28th, Archer 29th, Rook in 30th, and Zdanov 32nd, 33rd, Cummings, Wheel 31st, 4th, Marston 35th, and Lexi 36th, Starrock in 38th, Sny in 39th, Jackal in 40th, and in 41st is Betterson. That was the drivers' teams. MSA still extend the gap, 159 points ahead of the rest. Of the Greasy Bandit sat in that second place. Then it is Old School Racers, Unknown Racing, and SimPlay Racing just hanging in there again in the constructors, but more likely will go out at Alton Park. Cam Racing, Quantum Motorsport, Team Tom, Blunt Force Racing, Piston Pounders, Piston Pumpers, Roadrunner Motors, Star Wolf Racing, Audio Sport, Old Git Racing, Lexi's Industries, and an RBGT team. I've been Dan Davis. This has been the GT4s, and this has been the Red Bull Ring. It's been fascinating to watch these guys around here. But we will see you next time for the GT4s at the Alton Park circuit. But for me and everyone else here, it is good night.